Let's take a look at the controls of your Garden Olympia. They're very simple. You have 4 electric knobs or switches on the lower left-hand side, and you have 1 gas valve control. The switch to your left is the main ignition switch, if you will, where everything is going to turn on and off. So very important that the first thing you do is you turn your unit on. You will hear the fans in the back of the machine kick in, and those fans are mostly designed to cool the motors during the cooking process. The second switch is your on and on light. The internal light, you have a halogen bulb built in the roof. That's what's going to give you that raw light on the product you're cooking and make the product look beautiful. The third switch to the left is going to speed control. There's actually 4 positions in that knob. Position number 1 is going to trigger your low speed. Position number 2 is going to trigger your upper speed. Position number 4 is going to trigger the lower and the top speed at the same time. So recap, everything is off. 1 speed, 2 speed, both speeds at the same time, and then you off position. The last knob to the right is going to be your vertical speed. Built in the roof, there's a motor that's converting the horizontal rotation into vertical rotation, and the speed to the right only controls that part. So now you have your vertical speed actually rotating, and that's controlled individually from the horizontal speeds. The gas valve to your right has 3 different very distinct positions. Everything is off. You push it halfway, turn it to where your little star is, and this is your pilot light ignition position. In order to light the pilot light, you just push the gas valve, hold the flame to the thermocouple, give it a few seconds for the thermocouple to heat up, let go, and your flame should stay up. After that, you just push the knob 1 more time halfway through, turn it to the high position, and then your burner will actually turn on and high flame. And then you can control your flame after that, rotate it between the low and high, anything in between, depending on the product that you're going to be cooking. It's a very, very simple process. It looks intimidating, but it's very simple, and you shouldn't have any problem. In order to light your pilot light and your burner, just slightly depress the knob, put it on the pilot position, and then put your lighter right there by the thermocouple, and then your pilot light will come on. It's hard to see in the regular daylight, but the pilot is actually on. When the thermocouple has time to heat up, take a few seconds, just let it go, and your pilot light will stay on, at which point slightly depress the gas valve again and turn your burner on. And the burner will kick on pretty much instantly. A couple of very important points is in the lower drip pan, we want to add about 1 inch of water. And what that water does is it prevents, of course, burning, or over the cooking process, you're going to some fat that's going to drip and fall in that lower drip pan. We want to make sure that it doesn't burn, it doesn't smoke, and also is going to make the unit very much easier to clean. So I'm going to put about 1/2 inch of water in the drip pan, and that water should last you through most of your cooking process. Also a very important point is that unit needs to preheat no less than 15 minutes. 15 to 20 would probably be preferred. And what it does is the way that a rotisserie cooks is not through the exposure to the direct flame. It's the flame heating up the cast iron plate, the flame heating up the fireproof bricks, and it's the retention of that heat and the reflection of the heat back onto the cooking chamber that's going to cook your product. So very important to let that unit preheat 15 to 20 minutes, and this way you will not have that drastic temperature change when you open the door to load product in the machine. Some of the heat is going to be retained inside those components inside. A key point also on the way Garden Olympia is manufactured is there are some gaps between the glass doors and to the side, and this is by design. So with convection heat building up inside the machine and escaping through the top of the unit, we want to make sure some natural air gets aspirated through that gap between the doors, and although it's not visible to the naked eye, there's actually a very large swirl that will start to create inside the unit and give you that very consistent cooking that prevents having to rotate the product through cooking. So you will not have to move the top speed down to the bottom or left to right. Everything is going to be cooked very, very consistently because of the design of that unit. So that's why those gaps are there. So please do not try to block the heat vent by storing things on top or pots and pans, or don't think this is a design flaw, because it's a very critical part of the cooking process. Okay, let's cook a tomahawk steak. So one of the accessories available for your Garden Olympia is the S-hook. Very simple. I have pre-drilled a hole in the back of on the top of the bone. So I'm going to insert the hook in there. I've already pre-seasoned the steak, salt, pepper, and some steak seasoning. I'm going to place it on the vertical spit right here. And I'm turning it up. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your beautiful piece of meat cooking in your Garden Olympia.